Spencer. Let's go and have some adventures. Let's go and have some adventures with Thomas. Let's go and have some adventures. Sodor's a fun place to be. Sodor's Greatest Adventures. Sodor's Greatest Adventures.
One day at Naval Station, it was very busy. Passengers, trains, and goods trains would come in here and there from branch lines and mainline trains. One day, James was puffing into Platform 3 to pick up a goods train when he saw his best friend Henry the Green Engine there beside him. "Morning, Hen." "Morning, James." Gordon was just there pointing with the express. "Morning, Gordon," said James. Gordon was going to say morning to James, but for some reason a weird thing came out of his mouth. James thought it was a bit funny. "Is there something wrong with your voice, Gordon?" "Then must be," said Henry. Gordon tried to speak more until Spencer puffed in, then with a goods train, like usual. "Has something happened to your voice, Gordon?" said Spencer. "Has it got a bit rough?" he said. Who knows?" said Henry. Just then, Nia backed down to pick up a train herself. When she saw something, "Ah, hello there," she said. What a little thing like you've been doing here," said Nia. This made Gordon cross. "I am not a thing, Nia," he said. "I'm the number 4 engine on the Fat Controllers Railway." "Why, thank you very much." "Oh, I was not talking to you, Gordon," said Nia. "I was talking to the dog." The dog came out of the crates. It was a little dog that somehow got to the railway. This made the engines puzzled. The dog then saw a bird and chased afterward to on the rails. Spencer was about to leave when he saw the dog got onto his track. "Shoo! Go away!" said Spencer crossly. "I am a big proud silver engine," he said, "and I need you to move. I have a goods train to deliver," he said crossly. But the dog didn't move. "Oh dear," said Nia. "This dog must be lonely, and look, he doesn't have a collar, which means he'd be a stray dog." "You mean he hasn't got an owner?" "No," said Nia. "I heard stray dogs were very dangerous," said Henry. "I heard they can cause any trouble without an owner." "They do," said Nia. "No matter what country, they will cause any trouble." "Huh," said Gordon. "Well, he certainly didn't get me trouble when I had my voice problem." Then there was trouble. The dog started to go towards Spencer. "Get off the tracks," said Spencer. "I have very important supplies to deliver." Then there was trouble. The dog went beside Spencer's wheels. Before Spencer can even move, the dog peed all over Spencer's nice shiny silver wheels. "No," said Spencer. "My nice shiny wheels." "Oh dear," said Gordon. Nia thought it was a bit funny, including James and Henry. "Looks like your wheels will have to go to the washdown now, Spencer," said Henry cheekily. "They're certainly now shiny, Spencer," said James cheekily. The engine thought it was a bit funny, including Gordon. "Well," said Spencer, "he can't live here. A railway's no place for a dog, or even a cat, no matter what animal it is," said Spencer crossly. And with that, Spencer puffed through his goods train to make up for lost time. Henry, James, Neil, and Gordon thought it was a bit funny, and they started talking about it. Meanwhile, Emily was at drawing on Thomas's branch line with some trucks. He was just picking up some deliveries. The fat controller was there. He was just checking his list. Then there was trouble. Look out, sir, said Emily. The fat controller stopped. What is it, Emily? He said. You almost tripped over that dog, she said. Oh, hello, little fella, said the fat controller. The dog raced round the fat controller, and the fat controller accidentally fell over. Whoops, said the fat controller. He's not a bad dog, actually. He looks cute. What should we do, sir? Said Emily. Well, there's no place for a dog, you know. The fat controller had an idea. I know. I'll call the dog warden. They'll know what to do. The dog heard what the fat controller said, and with that it raced off into the distance. I don't think that dog liked that idea, sir, said Emily. Oh well, said the fat controller. I'm sure we'll find it eventually. Later that day, James finished his goods train and was now pouring pastures for Aubrey and Nathan. And, of course, James has returned to Chloe's Gate after working on Everett's branch line. They were making good timing when James saw the dog on the tracks. He braked hard. Soon he came to a stop. What are you doing here? Said James. You can't be on the tracks, he said. But the dog looked at James. James smiled. Oh, but you're so cute, though, said James. Here, I know. Maybe he can ride in my cab. When the dog was going over to James' cab, he saw James' nameplates and looked at them. James wondered. I wonder, can dogs read, though? Aiden laughed. They can't read, James. They're like how maybe babies are when they're little. I can understand that, said James. I'm just saying. But are you sure this is a good idea, Sir Aubrey? It's fine, said James. I remember Gordon having some dog issues one time when the factor's mother first came to our railway, and Thomas took the dog a ride in his cab. When Thomas was collecting Dowager hat from Gordon one time, said James. When that was the time when he had some animal problems, said James, chuckling. Anyways, time for me to go. We better get back on track then, and we can try and help this dog find you home. And with that, they puffed away. Later that day, James met up with Henry again down the tracks on the main line. Hello, Hen. Hello, James. Henry saw the dog that he saw earlier in Knapford. James, is that the dog from Knapford? Yes, it is, said James. I found it on my tracks when I was taking Aubrey and Ada with pastures, so I decided it can come with us. Oh, do you know anyone who lost a dog? Henry thought. No, sorry. None of my driver fireman has a dog, I think. Not even Rosie's crew since I lived with her. Oh well, said James. I'll keep searching. Thanks anyways, Hen. You're welcome, James. I will try to find a home as well if you want. Very well then, said James, and James puffed away. All day long, James was trying to find a home for the poor dog. When he was picking up a goods train with Rachel, he told her an idea. What name could I name you? I know. How about Fuzzy? Said James. Oh well, said James. Anyways, James also asked Rachel if her god lost a dog. No, sorry, James, she said. I'll find her owner eventually, said James, and he puffed away with a goods train. Little did he knew there was posters up about, but James didn't see them. Later that day, James took the dog, or as he called him, Fuzzy, down to the beach. But then there was trouble. He saw a squirrel. Oh no, said James, a squirrel! The squirrel saw the dog. Look, and they went on a chase. We gotta catch it, said James, as they raced off. James went a wild goose chase to find him. "Here, doggy, doggy," he said, but then there was trouble. Oh, oh. James saw some branches and applied his brakes. Luckily, he didn't crash into them. "Phew," he said, but then there was trouble. He heard a whistle. That sounds like Emily's whistle," he said, and it was. Emily came round the bend, pulling her goods train that she had a dry off. Oh, James saw the branches. He knew Emily wouldn't stop in time. "Emily, look out!" Emily saw the branches. "Wait, what?" said Emily. Emily applied her brakes, but it was too late. Crash went Emily. James saw the branch being hit by Emily. "Emily, are you okay?" "I'm kind of fine," she said, but Emily was badly hurt. "Oh dear," said James. "If I try to move you, it might make things worse." "Oh, never mind," said Emily. "I'm sure you can go back to Cronin's Gate and collect the Chinese breakdown cranes." "Even though I'm a rescue engine," said James, "but Cronin's Gate is so far away from here. There's no chance of me getting there in time." "Bother," said Emily. "Now what can we do?" Then James remembered. "Hey, here, doggy, doggy," he said. The dog, old Fuzzy, saw James, and he saw her friend Emily was in trouble. He knew he had let go of the squirrel. The squirrel ran off, but he had an idea. He took James' driver's cap. "Hey, my cap!" he said. "Oh no," said James. "It's all my fault. I was trying to mind the dog all day." "He looks so cute," said Emily. "What happened?" James explained the whole situation. "Aw," said Emily. "That's so kind of you, James." "I know," said James, "but now look what I got you into." "It's all right," said Emily. "I know what you were trying to do anyways." "Ah," said James. Meanwhile, in Nafford, the Fat Controller was there, and Spencer was there also. When Fuzzy raced in. "Ah," said the Fat Controller. "There's that dog I saw at Dryle today. I also saw this dog, sir. He peed on my wheels," said Spencer crossly. Said the Fat Controller. "Well, at least I could call the dog warden now." But just then he saw the cap. "Wait a minute, that James's driver cap." The dog barked. "Woof, woof, woof." "Wait a minute. Has something happened?" "Woof, woof." "It sounds like it isn't James, sir." The dog was trying to show what Emily looked like. "Wait a minute. Big driving wheels. Wait a minute. Has something happened to Emily? And where's James?" The dog was trying to explain. The Bat Control knew something must be done. "Spencer, you must go and find where Emily crashed and look for James as well. We have 2 missing engines." "Yes, sir," said Spencer. "Wait a minute. How am I going to find them, sir?" "Sir, it might take me hours to find them." The dog grabbed the cap and raced off with it. "Quick," said the Bat Control. "Follow that dog." "Yes, sir," said Spencer, as he raced off. Meanwhile, the dog came back to the crash site. James and Emily saw it. "Well done," said James. "You're a really useful dog," said Emily. "But I hope help comes," said James. Just then they heard a whistle. "That sounds like Spencer." And indeed it was. Spencer pulled in on Emily's track. He saw the crash. "Goodness me," he said. "What happened?" James and Emily explained what happened. "Well," said Spencer, "that's kind of you, James, but you really should have, focused on your jobs, like." "I know," said James. "But never mind that now," said Spencer. "I'll get Judy and Jerome from Harwick. I'll be back as soon as I can," said them fast. And Spencer raced off. I suppose once they come I could try and take these trucks away," said James. Soon Spencer came back with Judy and Jerome. James went to the back of the trucks. He was coupled up to the last one. "Why, Judy and Jerome," he said. "Time for you two to get into action," he said. "You got it then, Spencer," said Judy and Jerome together. They got their crane's arms together. As they lifted Emily and her tenders, as James was able to shrink them. "I'll pour them away," he said, as he poured them out. They soon got Emily, when he coupled up. Have you got her at the front, Judy?" "Yes, Jerome, I have. Me too. Let's get her." With all their strength, they lifted the heavy Emily back onto the tracks, and James buffeted her up. But Emily couldn't really move. Since she was stuck on the side for a long time, it's hard for her to start. "Don't worry," said James. If Spencer can take you, Jerome, and Emily, then I'll take your trucks behind." "Very well then," said Emily. "Right," said Spencer. "We better get back to Knapford. The Fat Control is waiting for you all." Soon they pulled into Knapford, but James had Emily's trucks, including the dog, and Spencer had Judy and Jerome, as well as Emily. We made it," said James. And thank goodness, said Spencer. The Fat Control walked out of his office. He was happy James and Emily were okay. He looked at Spencer first. "Well done, Spencer, and well done, Judy and Jerome." "Thank you, sir," they said. The Fat Control turned to Emily. "Emily, I am very proud of how you got on so far with your special train. You may go to the steamworks and get your driving wheels checked." "Yes, sir," said Emily. The Fat Control looked at James. He was not happy. "James, you caused a great deal of trouble today with that dog, and you made Emily put her out action for maybe a couple of days." "I'm sorry, sir," said James. "I just wanted to find this dog a home. But I understand my jobs are much more important." "Indeed," said the Fat Controller. "Although," said Spencer, "I may be hard on that dog today, but since he helped me find you two, I suppose he isn't that bad." "Me either," said the Fat Controller. "But who would adopt this dog?" James' driver stepped out of James' cab. "I think I can do it, sir." The engine was surprised, especially James. "Wait, driver, you will?" The driver smiled. "Of course. This dog is so cute, but a bit fun with me today, so I think I might adopt him. I got a good name for it. What about Fuzzy? I did tour of it earlier." "At the seaside," said James. "Sure," said his driver. "We'll call it Fuzzy." "Excellent," said the Fat Controller. Look, let's give a big cheers for Fuzzy the dog, who is our real rescue hero today. The engines blowed their whistles, and Judy and Jerome were happy for Fuzzy. "And," said James' driver, "I'll bring him to the railway where to see you, James." James was delighted. "Thank you, driver." James is glad that his driver adopted Fuzzy the dog, but I'm sure they will see each other at times, at loads of times. And I'm sure James has learned a lesson that sticking to his jobs are much more important than a fun dog. And I believe James has learned a lesson, don't you?
Let's go on and have some adventures with Thomas and Noel. It's when Sodor's greatest adventures.